Hey folks, how's it going? Dr. Spid, eclectic album reviews and general musical meanderings. Welcome to 2026. We're kicking off Tier 1's Discourse albums with this first post of 4 albums. There's going to be 48 total albums in Tier 1. We're going to get through all these in the first 6 weeks. That's going to lay the foundation for everything to listen to all the way forward. Very exciting time. Sometimes in this first Tier 1, you're going to find the things that end up being Album of the Year right off the bat. But very often, these albums will be reference points throughout the year. So we're going to start off with Paul Meany's Forever Face. Paul Meany was originally the lead singer for Mute Math, this band I was very into around 2010. And they're one of the very few bands that I would favorably compare to the Police. They had that same energy as the Police, had really great songwriting, and also that comparison holds up due in no small part to Paul Meany's really amazing vocal style. He's got a very clear, pristine, emotive voice, and is very good at making these great, big, melodic, emotional leaps in his melodies. Now, another thing that Mute Math had in common with the Police was that they had great, outstanding musicianship that was channeled through very raw, vital energy. But over the course of Mute Math's career, that sort of started to dissipate a little bit. By the time they got to their last couple albums, they almost became a polished pop product. Now, I'm saying that in reference because Forever Face is a continuation of that polish. In the interim between that time, he's been doing a lot of production work for 21 Pilots, and you see his nuanced idea about production show up in this album very clearly. It's a shiny, highly polished album, and although that polish is kind of buffed out a lot of the raw energy that you saw in those early Mute Math albums, it's almost trade-off was almost worth it in the end. It doesn't really feel like it's a sellout situation. It's more like Paul Meany's maturation as a songwriter and as a producer have melded together. And across the course of this album, there are some parts in here that maybe feel like they meander a little bit, but I really think it's held down strongly by his amazing melodic sense, great performances, and really solid, pristine production. Okay, next up I got Hanna Lee's Textures. Textures is an album that you could probably consider in some ways to be an ambient album, in that it's kind of subjectless. As its name implies, there's a lot of textures to the album, there's a lot of soundscapes, but it also has a side to it that is unsettled and unnerving and full of tension. And I think that's due in no small part to Hanna Lee's background as a sound designer. She cut her teeth as a person who would do installations for museums. So these soundscapes are meant to be listened to live and loudly. So there's parts of this that are very soothing, very mellow, but there's also these strong, almost jarring parts to it. And I think those are meant to be somatically felt in the body. She mentions this in some of her interviews where she mentions that the loud parts in this album are meant to be experienced as loud. So you actually feel the impact of that on your body as you listen to it. So listen to this album with that framework of thinking that it could be listened to it very loudly in open space, I think kind of opens up a different frame of reference for it. Reminds me a lot of whenever I used to listen to computer music in the round in college. There was a media center where you would go listen to computer music in a multiphonic stereo setup. And this music is really designed for that listening setting in my mind. Oddly, it also reminds me just a little bit of 1950s sci-fi music. And we're talking about like Forbidden Planet soundtrack music. Now, that's not to say that she doesn't sound contemporary, but it is interesting that the way that these small instrumental melodic bits have that kind of organic way of being expanded into something much bigger and much more impactful. Next I got Ichiko Aoba's Luminescent Creatures. Luminescent Creatures was inspired by Ichiko Aoba's experiences deep sea diving off the Ryukyu archipelago. And I think almost everything you need to know about that album can be summed up within that context. It's peaceful and wondrous and really gives you the sense of what it would be like to be underwater without any kind of sound producing device, without scuba gear, and just feel the tranquility of the ocean and look up and see, waters rippling above you, watching the light dance off of again, as she implies by the title, luminescent creatures. In some way, this album kind of recalls the concept of being an ambient album more so than the Hanna Lee album does, but unlike that, there are songs here, there are arrangements, there is structure to it, there are melodies to it to follow. But the arrangements unfold very patiently and they meld synthesizers and strings together in very thoughtful and attentive ways. And it's really all brought home by Ichiko Aoba's delicate and precise voice. Lyrics are all sung in Japanese on this one, but you just won't care because once you sink into the immersive qualities of this album, it really, really pays off. And finally, for this post, I got Titanic's Hagan. Titanic is a duo based out of Mexico City, made up of a Venezuelan guitarist, Hector Tosta, and a Guatemalan experimental cellist and vocalist, Male Frate. And I think no matter what you expect out of Hagan, you're going to have some surprises for it. On the one hand, it has these beautiful ballads that are really enhanced by its Spanish language lyrics. And on the other hand, very abrasive, very angular, King Crimson-esque moments. I mean, really, there's some spots in here that sound like they could be straight out of the Robert Fritz vocabulary from the 1970s. Both of the members of Titanic have classical training, but there's a really almost punk rock approach to what they're doing on these songs on Titanic. But despite its complexity, it still has a very inviting feel. And again, I can't emphasize enough how I think that these Spanish language vocals really cause these particular melodies to have a quality that really is married to the specific prosody of the set Spanish language.
Que sabes que estoy por resucitar, te atreves a abrazarme otra vez, no ves que me atraviesa lo que a ti nunca te pesa.
And that's all I got for you guys this time around. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Share this video out with your friends. Also follow me over on Spotify. I'm going to start up a new list for 2026. And all 4 of these albums are going to have representative tracks. So go ahead and check that out when if you have the opportunity. And if you want to be involved in the discourse, we're going to be starting up in just a few weeks with this year's tournament. Please sign up for my Patreon below. And until we see you next time, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.